the whole thing is upset, but they have to have Prince Harry coming in because he's her ticket. We wouldn't talk about Meghan Markle.
Across global headlines and political circles, a shocking moment allegedly involving Donald Trump, Prince Harry, and Meghan Markle has set the internet ablaze with debate and disbelief. What was meant to be a formal public encounter reportedly took an unexpected turn, leaving the Duke and Duchess of Sussex visibly unsettled in front of cameras and dignitaries. But what exactly was said, and why did it spark talk of humiliation on such a massive scale? The truth behind this explosive moment be complicated than anyone imagined. And what do you think Harry and Meghan did to be humiliated by Donald Trump? Could this be a slap on the British monarchy? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. To help us create more videos and uncover the latest royal drama, please subscribe. Harry and Meghan changed royalty. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's decision to step back from their roles as senior royals became a major global event, widely seen as one of the most dramatic moments in modern royal history. It was not just a relocation, but a public clash between tradition and modern independence. Their announcement shocked the monarchy as they expressed a desire for financial freedom, reduced official duties, and a more private family life. They first left the United Kingdom for Canada before settling in the United States. There, they rebuilt their lives through media deals, interviews, documentaries, podcasts, and public speaking engagements, establishing a new independent public identity. To many supporters, their departure looked brave and deeply human. They believed Harry and Meghan were escaping an environment filled with relentless media attention, royal pressure, and emotional strain. Harry's openness about mental health struggles, combined with Meghan's experience as a newcomer constantly under public scrutiny, made many people sympathize with them. Supporters argued that no amount of royal status or privilege should come before personal peace, emotional well-being, or family stability. But not everyone saw it that way. Critics viewed the move as a rejection of responsibility and royal tradition. Some believed the couple benefited from royal privilege, while simultaneously criticizing the institution that gave them global influence. Others felt Harry, as the son of King Charles III and the younger son of the late Princess Diana, had a duty to remain committed to the monarchy regardless of personal difficulties. To them, walking away from royal service appeared less like freedom and more like abandonment. What made the entire story even more captivating was the powerful symbolism behind it. Harry was not just another celebrity. He was born into one of the most famous royal families in the world, a family watched closely for generations. Meghan, meanwhile, entered that centuries-old institution as an American actress from a completely different background. Her arrival brought excitement, curiosity, and hope that the monarchy was becoming more modern and diverse. Yet, within only a few years, that hopeful narrative transformed into tension, controversy, and separation. Their exit eventually became much larger than a family disagreement. It sparked global conversations about freedom, identity, mental health, media pressure, race, tradition, and the future of the monarchy itself. Even years later, the decision continues to shape public debates and royal relationships. In many ways, Harry and Meghan's departure marked the moment when the old royal world was forced to confront a rapidly changing modern society. Why did Harry leave his royal duties? What did he replace it with? Let's delve into the details of Harry's new public role, from royal duties to global commentary. Harry's influence triggered global controversy. After stepping away from official royal duties, Prince Harry transitioned into a more independent and outspoken public role. Moving away from traditional royal ceremonies and formal state duties, he began focusing on humanitarian causes, including veterans' welfare, mental health awareness, and broader global issues. Over time, he worked to establish an identity separate from the royal family, using his platform to discuss emotional struggles, trauma, and the pressures of public life. His advocacy for wounded veterans and mental health initiatives gained recognition from supporters who viewed his efforts as meaningful attempts to address real-world challenges and promote compassion and positive change. One particular moment, however, drew worldwide attention and intense discussion. During a visit tied to conversations surrounding Ukraine and broader international cooperation, Harry made public remarks that quickly spread across global media. Speaking with seriousness and urgency, he stressed the importance of collective responsibility among nations and encouraged continued support for Ukraine during its ongoing conflict with Russia. His comments reflected themes he had touched on before: unity, humanitarian concern, stability, and the need for strong international leadership. He spoke as someone deeply worried about the human cost of war and the long-term consequences of global division. To supporters, his words sounded compassionate, thoughtful, and morally driven. Many viewed him as a modern public figure, trying to raise awareness about suffering and encourage global solidarity during a difficult period in world affairs. But not everyone saw it that way. For critics, the situation became far more complicated. Harry was no longer a working royal, no longer representing the British monarchy in any official capacity, and no longer speaking on behalf of the state. Yet his title, fame, and worldwide recognition still carried enormous influence. That created an uncomfortable gray area that many people found difficult to ignore. Some questioned whether a former royal figure should publicly comment on highly sensitive geopolitical matters at all. Others argued that even without official authority, Harry's words could still be interpreted internationally as carrying royal or political weight. In their eyes, his statements risked blurring the line between personal activism and unofficial diplomacy. This growing tension revealed something much deeper than a disagreement over one speech. It exposed the complicated reality of Harry's post-royal life. He had left the institution, but the institution's shadow still followed him everywhere. Every statement, every appearance, and every public opinion continued to attract extraordinary attention because of who he once was, and who many people still believed him to be. What followed was not simply criticism or praise. It became a larger debate about influence, legitimacy, public responsibility, and the complicated role of modern public figures in global politics. And once that debate began, it only intensified. What could have made the Sussexes vulnerable to Trump's humiliation? Could it be related to King Charles's latest visit? Let's dive into the details of King Charles's U.S. visit and his growing distance with Harry and Meghan. Charles's visit deepens royal distance. King Charles's recent trip to the United States has been described as an important diplomatic mission designed to strengthen the long-standing relationship between Britain and America. The visit has been filled with carefully planned appearances, meetings with influential leaders, public speeches, and prestigious state events that reflect the responsibilities of a modern monarch. Every moment of the journey appears focused on duty, international cooperation, and preserving the image of the crown on the global stage. Yet behind the polished ceremonies and official photographs, another story has quietly captured public attention: the noticeable absence of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Although Prince Harry currently lives in California with Meghan and their children, there have been no reports of a private reunion, public appearance, or scheduled meeting between father and son during the king's visit. For many royal watchers, this silence speaks volumes. The fact that the king traveled across the Atlantic without including Harry in any visible part of the itinerary has only deepened the belief that the emotional gap between the Sussexes and the royal family remains far from healed. Since stepping away from royal duties in 2020, Harry and Meghan have followed a very different path from the rest of the monarchy. They have built independent careers, spoken openly about personal struggles within royal life, and pursued projects centered around media, activism, and public advocacy. Meanwhile, King Charles has continued carrying the heavy responsibilities of the crown, especially during a period marked by personal health concerns, political expectations, and increasing pressure on the monarchy to remain stable and united. This contrast in priorities has become even more visible during the U.S. visit. Rather than focusing on family reconciliation, the king appears fully committed to representing Britain and strengthening diplomatic ties. To many observers, that choice reflects a monarch determined to place institutional duty above personal matters, especially during such a high-profile international tour. As a result, media discussions surrounding the visit have increasingly portrayed Harry and Meghan as operating in a world almost entirely separate from royal life. Their absence from official royal activities, combined with the lack of coordinated appearances or communication, has fueled ongoing speculation that the divide between both sides may be growing deeper with time. Still, despite dramatic headlines and constant public debate, there has been no official confirmation of a permanent break within the family. Palace insiders and commentators generally describe the situation as a prolonged period of distance shaped by years of disagreements, media controversies, legal battles, and conflicting public roles. The relationship may be strained, but it has not been formally declared beyond repair. For that reason, King Charles's American visit is not necessarily viewed as the final chapter in the royal family's internal tensions. Instead, it is being seen as another powerful reminder of how far apart both sides have drifted, geographically, emotionally, and publicly. The visit may have been intended to strengthen international alliances, but in the eyes of many observers, it also quietly revealed the continuing separation between the monarchy and the Sussexes. What was Trump's first shot at the Sussexes? What exactly happened? Let's take a look at Donald Trump's first reaction that was a sharp and unfiltered response. Trump's subtle dismissal of Prince Harry. When Donald Trump was asked to respond to Prince Harry's public comments, the moment quickly drew worldwide attention. Interestingly, it was not the content of any policy disagreement that made headlines, but rather the way Trump chose to respond, his tone, his choice of words, and the meaning people believed was hidden in them. Instead of directly engaging with what Prince Harry had said, Trump took the conversation in a different and more personal direction. In a brief but widely shared press exchange, he did not focus on political arguments or detailed criticism. Instead, he shifted to asking about Harry himself, almost as if he was speaking about a private individual rather than a royal figure. He also made light, passing remarks that touched on Meghan Markle, bringing a personal and informal angle into what could have been a serious discussion. However, the most striking part of his response came when he made a clear distinction about Prince Harry's position. Trump emphasized that Harry does not represent the United Kingdom and has no official authority to speak on behalf of the country. In simple terms, he suggested that Harry's words should not be treated as the voice of a nation or an extension of the British state. This framing changed how many people understood the exchange. By drawing that line, Trump effectively shifted Harry's image in the conversation, from someone seen by some as a royal figure with lingering influence to someone speaking only as a private citizen expressing personal opinions. That difference mattered, especially in how the public interprets comments made by members of the royal family after stepping back from official duties. As expected, reactions were split. Some observers felt Trump had made a straightforward and factual point. From their perspective, he was simply reminding the public of a constitutional reality, that Prince Harry no longer holds an official role and therefore cannot speak for the UK government or the monarchy. To them, the statement was direct, clear, and grounded in fact. Others, however, interpreted his remarks very differently. They believed his tone carried a sense of dismissal, even sarcasm. In their view, instead of respectfully addressing Harry's comments, Trump appeared to downplay his importance and reduce his relevance in public discourse. To these critics, the way the message was delivered mattered just as much as the message itself. What made this moment stand out so strongly was its ambiguity. There was no clear insult or open confrontation. Trump did not launch a direct attack, nor did he use harsh language. Instead, his response sounded casual, almost conversational. Yet it was this very casualness that made it so powerful and widely discussed. Because it was not obviously aggressive, people interpreted it in different ways. Some saw humor, others saw criticism, and some saw political messaging hidden inside a relaxed exchange. In the end, the moment became viral not because of what was explicitly said, but because of what people believed was implied between the lines. Was Trump's humiliation a one-time experience? Was it a repeated phenomenon? Let's talk about the repeated humiliation narratives amidst influence, independence, and public perception. Tradition, influence, and royal divide. Over time, Donald Trump's remarks about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have grown into something larger than a few scattered comments. Instead of being isolated opinions, they have formed a recurring narrative he returns to whenever the Sussexes are mentioned. At various points, he has suggested that Harry seems heavily influenced by Meghan, presenting their relationship in a way that makes Harry appear less assertive in key decisions. In this framing, Meghan is often portrayed as the stronger voice, while Harry is seen as more guided than leading. Whether people agree with this view or dismiss it as political commentary, it has continued to attract attention because it taps into a topic the public has long been curious about: the internal balance of the Sussex partnership. For years, media discussions have tried to understand how decisions are made between the two of them, especially given their high-profile departure from royal duties and their continued visibility in global media. Supporters of Harry and Meghan strongly reject this kind of interpretation. They argue that it oversimplifies a deeply personal relationship and reduces it to tired stereotypes about influence and control. From their perspective, Meghan is not a behind-the-scenes driver, but an independent, accomplished woman with her own career history, public identity, and personal choices. They also stress that both Harry and Meghan act as partners who share responsibility and make decisions together. On the other hand, critics often point to major life choices the couple has made as evidence of a tightly coordinated strategy. Their decision to step back from senior royal duties, move to the United States, and pursue major media and business ventures are frequently cited as examples of deliberate joint planning that reflects a shared vision rather than individual direction. Alongside this, Trump has occasionally made broader critical remarks about Meghan's public persona and her complicated relationship with the British royal institution. These comments often suggest that she does not easily align with long-standing royal traditions, hinting at tension between her modern approach and the monarchy's established expectations. At the same time, he has consistently spoken in a far more positive tone about senior working royals such as Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales. In his view, they represent stability, continuity, and a strong sense of duty to the institution. They are often portrayed as figures who uphold tradition and reinforce the public image of a steady monarchy. Taken together, these contrasting remarks have fed into a broader public storyline. On one side, a traditional royal core associated with discipline and continuity, and on the other, a more modern and independent branch of the family that challenges conventions and redefines its public role in a changing world. What seemed to be the peak of humiliation faced by the Sussexes? What was the scene like? Let's delve into the details of the Oval Office moment and the question of royal relevance. Power, identity, royal influence clash. One of the most widely shared moments in this ongoing story happened during a press meeting at the Oval Office in Washington, D.C. When reporters asked Trump about Harry's comments on global issues, his answer did not go into policy details. Instead, he shifted the focus back to questions of representation and authority. He repeated that Prince Harry was not speaking for the United Kingdom and stressed that his words carried no official diplomatic power. The tone was calm and conversational, but the message was clear. Harry's role in public discussion is personal, not institutional. This difference is very important because it shows the main tension in Harry's life after leaving royal duties. He is still known around the world and still strongly linked to the monarchy, but he no longer holds formal power inside it. To some people, this creates confusion because his voice gets global attention but has no official authority. To others, it is simply part of how modern public influence works. The moment became widely shared online not because there was a heated argument, but because it showed this unclear identity issue in a very simple way. It brought together a former prince who speaks like a global advocate and a former president who reminded everyone about legal and constitutional limits. In that short exchange, people saw two different ideas of power and influence facing each other. One idea is that public figures can shape global conversations even without holding official positions. The other idea is that real authority still depends on formal roles and recognized institutions. This contrast made the discussion spread quickly across media platforms. It was not because of personal attacks or drama, but because it reflected a larger question about identity in the modern world. Harry's situation shows how difficult it can be when someone moves from an official royal position into a global public role. He still carries the history and attention of his past, but must operate in a space where influence does not always equal authority. This makes every public statement about him more closely examined than most other public figures. It also shows how modern media can turn a simple exchange into a global discussion within minutes. In the end, the Oval Office moment became a symbol of the changing nature of fame, authority, and public identity in today's connected world. It showed that titles alone do not fully define how people are heard or understood in global conversations. It highlighted that influence today is often shared between tradition and modern media presence. Because of this, people often debate whether public voices like his should be treated as symbolic or political. Yet what this moment truly revealed was how quickly a few words can expose deeper questions about power, identity, and belonging in the modern world across nations and audiences worldwide, everywhere today. What did Trump's humiliation lead Harry and Meghan into? Humiliation from the public? Let's dive into the details of the humor, media amplification, and the rise of public satire. Royal fame becomes cultural satire. As the public stories surrounding Prince Harry and Meghan Markle continued to grow and change, it naturally moved beyond news reports and entered the world of entertainment. Their experiences, decisions, and public statements became material that writers, comedians, and producers could easily adapt into humor and storytelling. Late-night talk shows, comedy panels, and sketch programs such as Saturday Night Live often referenced their journey, turning real-life events into lighthearted jokes that audiences could quickly recognize. In a similar way, political comedy shows and commentary programs also joined in, using the public interest in the couple as a recurring theme. They blended royal-related drama with political humor, creating stories that mixed real-world issues with exaggerated scenes meant to entertain viewers. These programs often took small details from the news and expanded them into bigger, funnier situations, sometimes stretching reality far beyond what actually happened. However, behind the humor, there is also a deeper meaning. Harry and Meghan have grown into symbols that represent more than just a royal couple. To many people, they reflect ideas about fame, personal freedom, privilege, media pressure, and even modern identity in a changing world. Their story is no longer just about personal life, but also about larger social discussions. At the same time, Prince Harry himself has at times interacted with media platforms in ways that add more layers to the public conversation. Through interviews and public appearances, he has spoken about his experiences in royal life, the pressure of constant attention, and the challenges of living under global scrutiny. In some moments, he has also used humor to respond to public perceptions, indirectly addressing how stories about him are told. This constant exchange between media portrayals and personal responses has created a cycle where each new comment, interview, or satire leads to further discussion. Every statement becomes part of a larger conversation, feeding more interpretations, reactions, and comedic adaptations. In this way, their story continues to evolve as both real-life experience and public entertainment. Over time, this blending of news and entertainment has made their story widely known across different audiences around the world. It shows how modern media can turn personal lives into shared cultural topics that people discuss, debate, and even turn into humor on a daily basis. Because of this, every action or statement they make is quickly picked up and reshaped by media platforms and audiences. This ongoing cycle ensures that their presence in public conversation remains strong, continually evolving with each new story or interpretation. In the end, their journey reflects how fame in the modern world is no longer limited to private life, but becomes part of a shared public stage where stories are constantly rewritten and retold for both meaning and entertainment. This creates a powerful mix of reality and imagination that keeps audiences engaged and always talking about them in different ways across many platforms. As a result, their story remains active, evolving, and widely discussed in popular culture today, always changing narrative. How is the decision of the Sussexes to leave the monarchy perceived by the public? How do they see it conforming with their present reality? Let's dig into the details of the global narrative that refuses to end. A story still unfolding globally. Today, the story of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle sits in a very unusual place between royalty, media, and modern politics. It is no longer only a royal story, and it is no longer only a celebrity story. Instead, it has become a mixed narrative shaped by worldwide attention, public opinion, political voices, and cultural interpretation. Supporters often view them as people who chose independence despite strong pressure from tradition and institutions. Critics, however, question their choices and the way they speak in public. Even political figures, including Donald Trump, have added their own comments, turning private views into public discussions that spread widely. What makes the situation so interesting is not only what has been said, but also how people react to it. Every statement seems to carry deeper meaning. Every reply becomes part of a larger public conversation. And every appearance adds another layer to a story that keeps growing and changing. Its influence now extends far beyond royal tradition. It touches discussions about freedom, duty, media power, and personal identity in the modern world. People continue to interpret the Sussex story in many different ways. Some see inspiration in their decision to step back, while others see controversy and disagreement in their public life. The global attention around them ensures that every interview, speech, or public action becomes part of a much larger discussion. In today's digital world, where information spreads quickly, their story is constantly reshaped by social media, news outlets, and public debate. This makes it difficult for any single version of the story to remain fixed or final. Because of this, the story continues to grow in layers rather than moving toward a clear ending. Each new comment, interview, or public reaction adds fresh detail, shaping how people understand the people involved. For some, it is a story of courage and change. For others, it is a story of conflict and misunderstanding. Both views continue to exist side by side, keeping public interest alive. We can say that the Sussex narrative has become more than a royal matter. It is now a mirror reflecting modern society itself. Its debates about privacy, fame, responsibility, and freedom. As long as these topics remain important to the public, the story will continue to evolve, drawing attention from around the world and sparking new interpretations that keep it alive in global conversation. At the same time, this ongoing attention shows how modern public life has changed. Stories are no longer limited to official statements or traditional news cycles. Instead, they grow through constant sharing, opinions, and reactions from people across the world. In this way, the Sussex story is not only about two individuals, but also about how society today consumes, judges, and reshapes information. It highlights how quickly narratives can expand, how deeply people can engage, and how long a public discussion can continue without a final conclusion. Ultimately, it remains an unfolding global story, watched with interest by millions across cultures and generations worldwide everywhere today. So, what do you think about Harry and Meghan's humiliation? Do you think Charles's dissociation led to the humiliation? We'd love to hear your opinions in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe.